Hey there, and happy Monday. Let's look at the April 27th Focusrite. Let's look at the question and explain or understand how to do this. Before you start, you will need to also open the attached document that looks like this, that is in your assignment in Google Classroom. So this document is something that if you attended last week's Google Meet and you got 5 points for attending, good job. You had a hand in creating this. And this document is something that was put together by Hanby students 2 and 4 years ago, the last times I taught the Outsiders, and is a list of the groups that they identified at Hanby. So the groups, the smart kids, the attention grabbers, the nerds, the gamers, the individual, so on and so forth. And then the characteristics of people who are in that group. So what we did in the Google Hangout is that participants in class put an X in the boxes that they gave themselves and in the boxes that were labels that other people gave them. So for example, if you identified as being a smart kid, you would have put an X in this box because that's something that you identify with. If someone else also calls you a smart kid, that would go over here. And for some of these are labels that what you can see is that there were more students who identified themselves as being a smart kid than there were them thinking that other students had identified them as being smart. Nonetheless, let's go back to the assignment itself. So here, our prompt says, and first of all, let's read the instructions. Read the prompt, then review the grading criteria. When you understand the expectations, record your response in the bottom box. That's this one down here. So let's look at the prompt. Look at the cliques and groups in the Hanby document. Which group do you think is most often used to be hurtful? Which group or label do you think has the most positive associations with it? Explain your thinking on both questions using detail and examples to help the reader understand your thinking. So here's what I want you to do here. I want you to go back and look at all of these groups. And I want you to think about like the rumor mill and kind of name calling and stuff that happens at school or has happened at school. Of all of these labels, which one do you think gets applied to people in a way that is hurtful most often? So for example, is calling someone a nerd, is that a compliment? Or is that hurtful? Being called a wannabe, is that a compliment? Or a drama queen, is that a compliment or is it hurtful? Like, which ones of these, in your opinion, which label is most often used to hurt someone else's feelings versus to compliment them? So that's the first part of your response, okay? And then the second one says, which group or label do you think has the most positive associations with it? So like, which ones of these up here do you think when someone's called it, other people are like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Are the straight up niceys, for example, if you call someone nice, like, is that a compliment at school? If someone's a smart aleck, is that a compliment? One that came up in class a lot in our discussion was calling someone weirdos. Is that a compliment? Or is that an insult? Like, which one? So you're deciding in the assignment which is the one that's the most hurtful, but then also which one is the biggest compliment. Now, here's the most important part. Explain your thinking on both questions using detail and examples to help the reader understand your thinking. Okay, this is really important. And, I've been grading, this is the third week in a row that one of these is a quiz project grade. And I've sent a lot of these back to people saying, you need more detail. So as you look at the grading criteria here, you need to respond to all of the questions. You need to explain your thinking in detail and use examples. And you need to organize your writing into paragraphs. Okay. If you've written 200 words, you're on track. Make sure that you have good spelling and grammar, and you are able to correct these. Most of the time when I send these back, people either have written one big blurb, but they haven't organized their thoughts into paragraphs. And if you're thinking about like, well, how do I write paragraphs? Why don't you do one paragraph for the first question and one paragraph for the second? Okay. Another way that I've been taking off points pretty frequently is when they just give their reasoning. So they say, well, I think this because of this, and I think that because of that, but they don't give any examples. So, a way that you can build a really positive and strong response is that you answer the question, you share your opinion, but then you also give an example. So, for example, when this happens, I hear this, people being called this in the hallway, and I notice that that's hard because of blah, 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 or whatever it is. Like, put it in the context of Hanby. You guys have seen all of this, and you'll do a great job.